I'm Jim Lichtscheidl. I attended Mankato State University, which is now Minnesota State, right? In 1998, and I graduated in 92. I worked alongside of many people such as Melissa Peterman and Cedric Yarborough and Eric Nelson and E.J. Sokoviak and Anna Loris and Matt Orm and Sean Narlock. Great bunch of people, a really, really fun bunch of people. The first production I did was Guys and Dolls, and I was the waiter. I don't know if you remember. I came out with a dulce de leche, and I did a little hat dance with my sombrero, which stole the show. Other productions I did included Hamlet, Arsenic and Old Lace, Cabaret, Into the Woods, Two Rooms. I directed The Mystery of Armavet in the Phoenix Theater. I don't know if you still have the Phoenix Theater.
We have the studio, which is the Andreas Theater.
Oh, right.
Adjacent to the...
Of course, yes. So I did a number of productions, and one of my favorite things, actually, was the amount of work you could do at MSU. There was so many venues. There was 3 stages, and there was also the room where you could also put on anything you wanted at any time. You know, I would choreograph some numbers, I would put on a little short play. There was no lack of space or time if you really wanted to do whatever you wanted to do, and that's what I enjoyed. I don't know how many productions they did. They did like 17 productions a year or something like that, which was great. So you were always busy, always going. And actually, I went to MSU to become a speech teacher, and I also had received a theater scholarship before I attended, and I started doing some productions because you needed to participate in the theater department because you got a scholarship. So I was enjoying that, and at one point, Dr. Hustles called me into his office and said, I think you should consider a career change and become a theater major. And I thought about it for about 5 seconds and said, yes! And my parents were a little concerned because they didn't know if an actor could, sustain a living. But I did. I graduated in 92, moved to Minneapolis shortly after, got a day job, started doing theater at night, and just, kept hoping for my big break. Then I got connected with Brave New Workshop in Minneapolis, which is an improvisational theater. And I can't tell you what good that theater did for me, because it really started helping me create a sense of who I was as an artist, and also I discovered my love for writing and creating. From the Brave New Workshop, some people from the Guthrie Theater had come and seen a production that I was in, and I got an audition through the Guthrie. So in 1998, I had my first job here at the Guthrie Theater, which was the Venetian Twins, where I played an audience member for the first 40 minutes. And then a sword fight that happened on stage goes astray, and I end up getting stabbed as an audience member, get dragged onto the stage, the production shuts down, everyone thinks it's serious, and then I come back later as other characters. But that was my first foray into the Guthrie Theater. But it is tight-knit, and they do have a program through the University of Minnesota, so a lot of the graduates from that program end up getting on this stage. So it was a little harder coming from Mankato to get my foot in the building. But as soon as I did, I just worked hard. I did whatever I could. I participated as an audition reader so that, I could get more experience that way. And I've been doing it ever since. I believe I'm doing Uncle Vanya this fall here at the Guthrie, and I think that'll be my 30th production, which is kind of overwhelming to think about. But it's been great, and I've had some great opportunities, worked with some great people, playwrights and actors. Angela Bassett. I just did a collaboration with Mark Rylance doing Nice Fish here, which was incredible. He's a two-time Tony Award winner. Worked closely with Tony Kushner in a new production of Tiny Kushner, which is 5 short one-act plays that he had produced. And it was done here, and then we traveled with it to Berkeley and also to the Tricycle Theater in London, which was an incredible experience to be a working actor in London. And in my spare time, I've done my share of commercial work and industrial work. I've been in a few movies. I was in The Serious Man, the Coen Brothers movie, Factotum, a couple of independent movies that are yet to be released.
Can you talk about them at all?
I did actually a production called The Confession of Lee Harvey Oswald, where I played Lee Harvey, which was incredible. It was just, and the similarities, when I had the makeup on and everything, it was frightening how much I looked like him. So hopefully that'll come out sooner than later. We'll see. But you never know. Mm-hmm. Just last fall, I was in a show with E.J. Sokoviak doing King Lear, which was really fun, and we had a lot of trips down memory lane of our time at MSU. I've done shows at the Jungle Theater, the Children's Theater, and 10,000 Things Theater, which is a great theater company here locally in Minnesota that tours shelters and prisons and low-income housing, and actually brings theater out to people who don't normally get a chance to see it. And I've done over 10 productions with them. I've also written a few. I did a show called Knock, which was based on my childhood, loosely based on my childhood. And it was very movement-based, very multimedia movement-based. There was no dialogue. It was all choreographed to music and sound. And something I call storyography, which is like little stories choreographed to music. And it won the Ivy Award in 2006 for creative merit or something. I've also collaborated on a number of other shows, and I just really enjoy that. I think that's going to probably be what happens next. Is the more it's so pent up. I just can't wait to create. Time doesn't always allow it, but I really enjoyed creating my own work. Yeah.
And that goes back to scripting it. Have you scripted plays as well?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's all the foundation of the Bravenet Workshop really kind of instilled that in me as far as how to create something, how to write something, how to find the comic moments. So I just enjoy writing as well. I've got 3 or 4 ideas that are outlined in my head that I'm just waiting for the right moment, the right space. I need some time, to develop it. But I can't wait to do that. I also, I have a hankering to have my own theater someday. Again, the opportunity will have to present itself, and I'll have to know when the time is right. But I would love that. I would love to have my own theater here, and it would probably be here in Minneapolis. On my tax form, it says actor, and that's it. And the year I actually got to do that, I didn't have any other jobs except theater jobs, and I wrote actor down, and I was so proud of that. So no, I haven't had to have a day job or anything else supplementally for quite a while. The other things like commercials and voiceovers and things like that help supplement when I'm not doing theater or while I'm doing theater. But pretty much I'm just strictly a working actor.
Nice.
Yeah. There was a class actually that a Lawson offered, and I think when I was there, it was the first year, it was auditioning for film and camera. And that was very helpful as far as, getting a foot in the door. Audition methods also really helped because a lot of the initial time I spent right out of college was auditioning. You're auditioning like crazy. So the more prepared you are, the more monologues you have, contemporary, classical, everything, the better. And so I felt very prepared for the market when I came on the scene. The dance, because I love dancing, and and Louis Whitlock was an instructor there, and just the amount of training I received from him and Julie Kerr, tap and jazz and ballet and modern, everything across the board was incredible. Nothing like it. We did a day in Hollywood, a night in Ukraine at Highlands, and that's just an incredible dance with a huge amount of tap in that, and a lot of singing too. And we put that up in 2 weeks, I think, or 1 week. And it's amazing because you're living and breathing it. You're immersed in the theater, and there's nothing like it. I mean, I remember it actually at MSU when you would be rehearsing something during the day and then in the evening doing another, performing another show. And there's nothing like that. It's in your blood, and you get so much experience from that. And it really helps you just focus in on the material and the show. And I also did Hope Summer Repertory Theater. I think it was my sophomore year at MSU. And of course, the best thing about it is you're getting paid. It's your first gig as a paid actor. And that's you always remember that. You don't think, sometimes you can't imagine you would get paid for something, doing something you love. But, it's really good. The reality of the situation, of course, is, there's a lot of actors that aren't working. That's just the facts. But with that knowledge in mind, I mean, that almost doubled my drive. It's like I know what I have to do. I know what the challenges are. So I was prepared to get a day job. I knew I had to, support myself in other ways first until I had that body of work behind me. You really do have to commit yourself. You have to say, I'm prepared to have a life in the theater. Basically, when you're out of the educational system, you're on your own. I mean, basically, you're a freelance artist. You're on your own, and so you just really have to create. You don't have that security of the group of college. Those days are long gone. So it's really important that you have a good self-esteem. You have a good a self-worth, a self-value, and because it can be just really, really hard at times. Sometimes it's constant rejection, auditions, and etc. You're constantly judging your appearance and your voice and your look and everything. So it's important to really have a good sense of self, and that can be hard at times for an actor. But if you have that, and you have the drive, and they have the commitment, then I don't see why there's any reason why anyone can't be a successful actor. One of the greatest things I came away with after working with the Braden Workshop was that in improvisation, what they teach above everything else is that you should be in the moment. Everything is in the moment. You're listening, you're hearing for the first time, you're reacting for the first time. That's the basis of improvisation. And carrying that on to my acting life was one of the biggest aids in everything that I do. I approach everything in that way now, of just thinking, this is the first moment I'm hearing this is how I'm reacting to it. Everything is in the moment. And without that, before that, it's just like, you're so concerned about the script and your lines and everything, but you just kind of let that go after all of that, and you just be in the moment and you react and you're honest and you're there and you're present. That's what flipped the top of my head off as an actor. It was like, wow, such a helpful, important thing for an artist. Working with the Coen brothers was very exciting, and auditioning for them was intense. I mean, you're in this little room and they're sitting on a couch. They have a little camera like this, and they're filming you. And I made them laugh, which was huge, and I think got me the role. But it's just so cool. It's everything you dream about on a movie set, and seeing the other stars and hanging out, and then going on and doing the take, and getting directing notes from them. The both of them were incredible because they speak with one voice almost. They finish each other's sentences, and they would give a note, and then sometimes they disagree, but more times than not, they would be like, yeah, let's try it this way and this way. It was just an incredible experience. I'll never forget. That actually was my forte for a while here in Minneapolis. I think there was one year where I played over 100 characters in 5 different productions. I played a one-man show, Jacob Marley's Christmas Carol, where there's like 20 characters, 39 steps, Tiny Kushner. I also played 20 characters in that, I think. So that became what I was known for here in the cities, is the ability to switch characters. And like I said before, each character has to be based in reality. It has to be immediately identifiable or recognizable to the audience. And that's a skill I love to do. I used to do that in speech competition in high school and in college. But I love it. I love the more characters, the better. I mean, I just enjoy challenging myself that way. With one character, you can sometimes get bored in one production. At least I can, because maybe I'm ADD. But there's advantages to both. With one character in a production, you can really ground yourself and immerse yourself in the reality of that character. When you're playing more than one character, you have to be a little. There's a lighter touch. You can't afford the energy of going deeply into each character because you have to pull yourself out of it for the next one. But I love it. I love a challenge, any kind of challenge. And here in Clybourne Park, where I'm playing 2 different characters, it's great because there's things that resonate in the second character that you see in the first character, but they're completely different people. So I just enjoy portraying any character. We did Merrily We Roll Along. And I just I love musicals, so I played Charlie in that production, and it was great. But the best thing about that is that Stephen Sondheim came to see the production, and I didn't know about it until intermission, and then I freaked out. But I'm glad I didn't know in the first act. But it was such an honor to meet him afterwards, and there's just so many opportunities like that are just incredible. You just never dream about things like that. When they say it's a gypsy life, it's basically true. You need to go where the work is. I've been fortunate enough to come to Minneapolis and work in an environment that has embraced me as an actor, and I haven't had any problems getting work consistently here. There has been a period where I was entertaining moving to another city or another town, and so I went for 2 years. I toured. I went in different productions. I did a show in Portland, Oregon. I did a couple shows in Berkeley, La Jolla, The Alley in Houston, Louisville, Cleveland. I did Great Lakes, Idaho. I just wanted to immerse myself in the entire country and see if there something else drew me. If there was another town and the answer that came back is, you really can't beat Minneapolis. I mean, to be a working actor and the opportunities here and the variety of theaters, I think there's just nothing, no other city in my estimation that tops it. It's a little overwhelming, like I said. I remember taking high school field trips to the Guthrie Theater, and I remember actually once we were sitting and an actor, I think it was Richard Ohms, who asked our group before we saw the production, who here wants to be an actor? And I did not raise my hand. I was terrified. I was like, I really did inside, but I was like, no, I'm not going to. And here I am, and I'm now doing those meet and greets with the students. So it's just overwhelming to think that I don't know. Somebody up there is looking up for me because the opportunities I've had here at the Guthrie and in the Twin Cities have been incredible.